if you didn't know Pro Tools from like 99 to about 2015, 16, you didn't eat.
My community has no trolls. They're all good people. They're very good people. They're well behaved.
You trying to like satisfy as many guys as possible. But, you know, as far as like...
It's quite a way to word that. Weaver's a hack. I mean, bro, I'm not trying to get into this right now.
And you're like, well, why doesn't this feel like a sample does off vinyl that's like, that I hear on a Nas record or something like that? And it's like, because those things actually have a little bit of transience and move.
No, I'm not going to NAMM this year because I'm kind of short on money, and then also I think there may be some people that want to kill me. Hello, fellow haters. This video is a conversation I've had with Tony Black, a legendary mix engineer who hopefully you've heard of. He's mixed for more people than I can even really fit on screen here. We discussed some audio and YouTube topics. I didn't edit it on the video because I wanted to have a nice natural flow to it. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. Make sure to subscribe to him if you haven't and drop a like on the video. He uploads videos and he also live streams. I'm a pretty big fan of his live streams personally.
I wouldn't want to intimidate Weaver or anything like that and drop a G-bomb on him.
Drink a little wine out of this Grammy here.
I mean, you know, just like put it in front of the microphone. Let's see here.
Just to remind people, you know, just to remind people.
There we go. Look, Weave, I even got your name going, man.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Yeah, let me see if I could...
Looks like you may have stretched the font a bit, but hey, we'll take what we can get.
I could always get rid of my logo. Hold on a second.
I really think in order to like tie this up nicely, you should really just stick the Grammy in the background somewhere. Like just maybe like shove it between like the guitars or something.
Well, normally it's on, you know, like the hood of my car.
Yeah.
That's normally where it is, you know. And I drive around. That's what
I would do.
It's just subtle, you know what I'm saying? But
yeah, just so people know, like, hey, Grammy Award winner here.
The busy one, the bear, was the one that, you know, had to go right there. He had to go right to it on the thumbnail.
You know what you need to do in one of your thumbnails? You have to have like maybe you holding a Grammy, and then you have the word Grammy and an arrow pointing to the Grammy.
That's a good idea. I like that idea.
Just so they don't miss it, you know, like there's no way they can miss it. It's like, okay, in case you don't know what it is, we got the text and we got an arrow, maybe even multiple arrows.
He's I was having trouble with my chat window earlier, like the one that I embed into my OBS.
Mm-hmm.
It was literally white text on a white background, and
wow,
and it was like trying to read shit and like get shit over. And then I had the other chat window. So anyway, it's all fixed now. There's a gray background. I can actually see what these lunatics are saying. There are, you've obviously, you know, I know that you brought some trolls to the chat. I got to be careful what I say. I
don't think that's true. That's a lie. There's no such thing. My community has no trolls. They're all good people. They're very good people. They're well behaved.
I mean, John Makes Beats did me a favor right here. He puts a chat in, and then when I launch it onto the screen, it kind of has a ring to it there. I might have to put that, like, you know,
Tony the Grammy Black,
in the logo. That might be good.
Yeah.
So the one thing I wanted to kick it off with you was, besides, you know, thanks for coming on, and thanks for
having me.
Tolerating me when I do some of my, you know, the whole quit the business thing, which kind of got. I was saying to some of the guys in the chat earlier, they were saying, oh, you did, when Weave's doing the beat reactions, like, I don't get involved in that. I just, all I'll say is like, hey, it seems like it's distorted or loud or mono or something like that. Like, because I don't know how you deal with that jockeying around with like one thing's on SoundCloud and other things over here. So like the volume can be an issue, right? It could be a pain in the ass to like.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, I guess it depends on the platform because like Spotify has like normalization, but then SoundCloud doesn't. But they did at one point, and they should really just make all that information like maybe just like in the top corner or something. I don't know. Like it's like something you have to look up.
Yeah.
But I mean, I understand the perspective of not really like giving a lot of feedback because like, I mean, that's your
gig. I mean, you're doing the feedback to me.
No. No, what I was saying is like, because like when I went to audio engineering school and like I interned at the studio, Avex, the engineer there was like extremely like, he did not like people saying anything about anything. Like you can't, like, he yelled at me one time because I said the piano sounds nice. You
Okay.
know what I mean? Like, I feel like, and I kind of feel like maybe like engineers have like a little bit more of like a what do you call, like they kind of like keep it to themselves unless they really have to say something.
Very much so. Yeah. I mean, listen, there's no doubt that when I was, like, say, if I was doing a session with an assistant engineer, it
Yeah,
was pretty much expected. It was actually not expected. It was demand. Like they would should not speak unless spoken to,
yeah,
and also
and also clean the
never,
bathrooms.
yeah, like, and never have an opinion other than like I agree or like, yeah, wow, that sounds good. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Typically, the artists would never put them in a position. They would never ask them.
yeah,
Yeah, that's a that was always a tricky spot, and it was, you know, the few times that I had to take an assistant aside because I was not one of those like bully engineer guys. I was always like a sort of, you know, kind of, he was part of my team, and I was trying to keep that person along like their path, like moving up in the business. So it
yeah.
was sort of like, you know, this is my guy, you know, and he's cool, or girl. I had a few female assistants.
You don't want
But
them to quit the business.
you don't want them to quit the business. But, you know, then there were like a couple of times where I had to take someone aside and say like, there were two things: talking too much or you know, interrupting. And then there was the other one where I had a problem with an assistant who liked to be a bit of a powder. Like if someone said, like if the artist said like, oh yeah, I want to do an organ part right now. And like, you know, and they would say to me like, hey, I want to do an organ, you know, they'd leave the room.
Hmm.
And I'd say like, okay, dude, listen, go get a couple of these microphones and all that stuff. And they want to do an organ. And they'd be like, why? And, you know, maybe the first one or two times you'll be like, well, because they want to try like, you know, a real organ instead of like a synth organ or something like that. And then by like the third time, you're kind of like, there is no why, bud. Like,
Just do it. Like,
just turn around, go get the microphones, and we'll figure it all out. But
that's funny. That kind of reminds me of like, I mean, I don't know if you have children, but like when they're in that like earlier, like maybe like before like the age of like 8 or so, they start to be like, why?
Yeah, they want to know.
Like, you explain why, and they're like, why?
Yeah. This is like a 22-year-old kid. Like it's a little late for him to be like, you know, not under. Studio life is, it's a people thing. It's more than the technical thing. I always try and talk to my guys about that. Like there are guys that know way more than me on a technical level for sure. But the working with the artist and understanding that it's like, it's not about the technical, it's about the art is like something that I always tried to get across and get through. But going back to the beat evaluation stuff that you do, like how do you, what is it that you're looking for? Is it like an instinctual thing, or is it like just like specific things you like to hear, or that do you take your personal taste out of it also? Like I wanted to know that.
I try to. It's kind of hard sometimes though, because like especially if it's like a genre I don't really like. I'll just, if it's like in that situation, then I just like kind of try to give like any audio engineering feedback, you know, like maybe like mixing and stuff like that. But usually I just kind of, I don't know, because I listen to a lot of different genres of music.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, there's probably like only like a handful that I don't really like or less than that. So I feel like I can generally, you know, pin like at least like, and I try to like not be like, oh, it has to be this way, but like, you know, here's an idea.
Okay.
You know, like maybe consider like shortening it,
Yeah.
you know, or like for instance, like I try to keep in mind certain things too. Like for instance, if it's like I try to tell people also to tell me what the purpose of the track is, because like
Right.
if I know that, it's a little bit a little more helpful.
Right.
Like if I know it's supposed to have vocals, and like, you know, then I can kind of like set aside the fact that it's like repetitive on purpose, you know,
Right.
like stuff like that. I guess try to keep a lot of things in mind.
Well, I mean, it's fast moving because of the nature of, you know, everybody trying to get in there and you trying to like satisfy as many guys as possible. But you know, as far as like,
it's quite a way to word that.
yeah, I mean, yeah. Now everybody says no Diddy. I've been seeing that everywhere.
I thought, is that even still a thing? Like, is that might already be dead?
No, that's
A dead meme.
I just saw that like a lot very recently, and I was like, man, is that really? That's like that has replaced the no H completely.
Yeah, no homo or pause.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Which, you know, I was around for the beginning of that shit. I've told that story with the whole Cameron crew because I did his first record, and that was like we almost couldn't finish the record. That's how deep it was. You have yeah, the no Diddy thing. So yeah, like that's to me it's a tricky thing doing those reviews or the evaluations, because maybe there's like I said, like what's the goal of the evaluation for them? Like, do they want to know sonically, or are they just looking for any information? You know,
I think they're looking for anything. Like,
Anything.
you know, like maybe they're planning on releasing a song, or maybe like they just started making music and then like they're like unsure where to go from where they are. Maybe they've been working on it too long. You know, like I kind of get it personally, because like there's sometimes where I've been sitting on a song for a long time and then I'm like it's good, but like there may be something else. You know, like maybe I'm losing perspective on it.
yeah, for sure.
So I think there's definitely value in it.
I think it's good also just for people to get comfortable with people hearing their stuff. You know,
yeah,
it's very easy to be stuck in the cocoon of like, you know, the home studio and like never exposing your stuff. And like you said, you could wind up working on a beat for 3 years as opposed to, you know, getting some feedback. And even if that feedback is, you know, doesn't mean anything
Delete it.
on the scale of things, it's just something. And
Yeah.
and you might get something out of it, like, hey, you know what? Like a reaction is a reaction. And, you know, if somebody plays something or you play one of their tracks and, you know, the chat percolates a little bit, I'm sure it makes somebody feel pretty good. Like, oh, wow, like somebody actually like fucking didn't want it nuked like immediately.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's another thing too when people will send in a song and then it's like a finished song and, you know, they're just trying to like, you know, flex a little bit or something.
Sure.
I mean, I don't really like call them out on that really, because like, you know, sometimes you just want feedback too on something that's finished. But like usually if you like sending feedback on something that's finished, it's like, what am I supposed to tell you? Like change out this thing on this like 3-year-old song, you know? Like
Yeah. I did it to a friend of mine, admittedly, a while ago. He was doing beat reviews, and he's a very successful producer. And you know, I had a different fucking name thing, and I like threw a track in that was an artist that I had done.
okay.
And in like 15 seconds, he was like, well, this sounds like a little on the professional side, you know what I mean? Like, and I was like, oh, you fucking busted me, you know? Like, there's because there is, you know, there are differences, I guess, in something that sounds like, oh, wait a minute, this sounds like a fucking album track, or, you know, something you would hear on the radio. Why does this not sound like one of these things that somebody just uploaded? You know,
it's always funny when somebody sneaks in like a real like song. You know, like sometimes people will go into like other people's discords and then you know, just drop like an Aphex Twin song or something. And
oh, really?
See what feedback they give. That's actually pretty funny.
That's pretty slick.
Like they'll. Yeah, it's pretty funny because they'll be like, I don't know if I really like the direction this is going. And it's like, well, this is like this song is like millions of plays. Like,
right. I would fall for that because I don't know like a lot of, you know, a lot of really left of center stuff that is successful, you know.
Yeah,
but that I find that to be an interesting scene. I'll peek in every once in a while just to like hear some. I heard some good stuff last night. The one thing that I thought was interesting was the EDM track, but I think that those kind of things, they tend to be like, by design, they're longer and have those. They have to have those required things like 32 bar intros for the DJs to do their thing.
Yeah, it depends on the which genre of electronic music, but like like some of like the techno stuff, like that kind of stuff. For instance, I'm kind of just like I can't listen to this whole like 10-minute song right now, man. Like, are you crazy? Like I'll try to skip ahead or something a bit. Yeah,
that's but you don't get a lot of singer songwriter kind of things. Your crowd.
Sometimes I do. Sometimes sometimes I'll get some pretty impressive stuff like from people like with no following. Okay. And it's always been one of the things that proves to me that it's not really about skill or talent, because there's plenty of people with talent and skill that are like nobody knows, maybe not plenty, but they're definitely out there,
There's plenty. There's probably millions, but making it is not necessarily have anything to do with being really good at what you do. It's like a million
there's a lot of other things to it. Yeah, like it's like who your ability to socialize, your ability to like go out into places like different places like venues and stuff like that. Your ability to like build a fan base, like the ability to like be consistent. Like there's so many things to it now, especially nowadays with social media.
Your ability to not be annoying to everyone that you're going to want to work, make demands.
Yeah.
One of the biggest killers I saw of anything for new artists or up and coming ones, John Makes Beats here says, can you read that?
Let me see.
He says, "Hey Weaver,
what do you think about my new song? Plays Tom Jones. What's the new Pussycat?"
Yeah,
this sounds familiar.
That guy's got a really strong voice. I think you have potential.
What does he mean when he says Pussycat? What is that?
Yeah,
what is that?
What's new Pussycat?
What do you mean by that?
I mean, why is there no question mark in the question? Yeah, the thing that I always saw that would, tend to hold back an up and coming artist, especially one that was trying to get into the major label game, so to speak, is it's a fucked up thing to say, but like if they ask about money too soon, it's looked at as like an uh-oh moment. Like if they say like, well, I really need to make a living and like, pay my bills and do this or that. It's like, yeah,
got some hard news for you, pal.
Yeah,
it's not happening right away.
It's not happening
anytime soon.
You're asking that question on a little early.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but like, yeah, it was. I did get kind of lucky a little bit in the beginning because I did get like a TV placement, like a local TV placement, like probably within the first year of making music, maybe first couple years.
Okay,
but then after that, like because like the internet wasn't really that well monetized yet.
Yeah,
so I was like. There was years before I started making money. And then I basically started making more money through engineering at first. And then eventually SoundCloud became monetized. And then I started making some money through that.
Yeah.
And then, eventually getting into YouTube and whatnot. But yeah, some people don't understand that it's especially, I guess it's a little bit easier nowadays because you can just upload your music through DistroKid and whatnot.
Yeah.
But there's usually a long period of making music or mixing music before you actually start to make even a livable amount of money.
Oh yeah. No, it's all or nothing usually. It's an all or nothing game, and less than 1% make that kind of money, to whereas they have, buy a house kind of money. It's tough.
Yeah.
I was in the artist side of things in my 20s or whatever, teens and 20s. But I drifted into production early and, dealt with the whole record label thing. But those were different times, that's when, if you told a kid right now that my band got offered $180,000 deal and we turned it down, they'd be like, what? What are you talking about? Yeah, that was not enough money back then, to do what was needed to be done, and you would be literally broke if you took $180,000 deal.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much more to it because you gotta pay it back. Like that's used to fund the record. It's a lot of people don't. I mean, I'm sure it's maybe more known nowadays, but back then I don't know if people like were as aware it's a loan.
It was never really it was never really like blatantly put out there that way, but it was recoupable. So like that phrase always came out, but musicians, artists, we're all kind of like, what does that mean? I just want to put my record out and tour the world, and
well, people just hear money. They're like, "Did you say $2 million?"
Yes.
They're like, "Well, this is in advance. Like, you're gonna have to recoup this." Yeah. Shut up! Give me the $2 million.
Yeah, I mean, I do say like as much as the labels can be a problem, and I've said this a million times, is that like they do make the investment. And, there is that reality of like, are you willing to put up $250K of your own money and bet on yourself? Or do you want to take this loan and give up, a major percentage of the ownership of your business to let them take the risk? A lot of artists would be like, well, I don't have the money. Well, then you don't have the choice. You're going to do it shoestring style, or you're going to borrow the money, and get into the machine kind of thing. That's it was funny. I think it was last night you were doing something and you did a reaction to that guy saying, oh, he was doing a thing about the expensive albums.
Oh yeah.
And the Michael Jackson, some of that one. Michael Jackson's album cost $30 million or whatever.
Yeah, right? That was crazy because he was like renting several studios at once.
Right. A little background.
It didn't really make sense. It didn't really even make sense.
Like a little background. I worked with him for 11 months on history, and with Andrew Sheps. Yeah. And during those 11 months, that session, Michael's album project spent $1 million a month in New York City.
Jesus. Like how much of that was like not studio? Like a majority of it?
No, studio was a lot. Money go? I mean, I could put it out there now. I mean, like we were making like insane money in the 90s, like as engineers. I mean, my day rate was $1,500
for the whole day.
For a day, 12-hour day plus overtime.
That's pretty good.
The studios were $2,500 to $3,500 a day. Then you did like a lockout. You would have like a 5-day rate or a 6-day rate, but you get the 7 days. But his thing was, his project was so big and so like gluttonous that, like, say at the Hit Factory where we had 10 rooms, right? 10 studios, 2 buildings, 10 studios. There were times where he'd rent out 6 of them for weeks. So like one crew would be in one room, me and Andrew and somebody else would be in another room. Nobody would be in 2 of the rooms for like days at a time. Everybody's staying.
Like why?
It was just decadent. But here's the flip side of it. All right, let's just say, I talked with a buddy of mine this afternoon about it, who's like a label guy from back in the day, and I was talking about that conversation, and I said, these guys couldn't wrap their heads around it, that it would be that kind of money. But think about it this way. That was a double album. Half of it was greatest hits. So it was only half of real, new stuff. He shipped 3 million. And that was when CDs were like $23.99 for a double album. So he grossed 60 million the first day that it was like sent out.
Yeah.
That 11 million is like, well, they'll take that trade any day. 11 million to get 60 million. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just, you couldn't do it now. It would be like, you're going to go broke.
You're not going to recoup that money. Not that fast.
No,
nowhere near that fast.
I don't think you really are. Yeah, I don't think you would. That's a good question. I mean, I don't know that it's even what. That's why the labels get involved in the 360 deal and take touring money now, because they're like, wait a minute, we're paying for this. You're going to use this to promote your tour. You're going to go out on the road and make $10 million. and we're never going to recoup our 250K to make the record. So
Yeah.
they'll never lose. Let's put it that way. They will never lose. I'm trying to keep track of the chat is random stuff. I don't know if we want to. I don't see anything. Tony Black's audio sounds hot. All right, I'll turn it down a little bit. All right.
I have some topics here.
All right, man. Yeah, what do you got?
Kind of
Throw it out.
things.
Throw it out there.
Let's see. Okay, I'm curious. What are your thoughts on influencer culture on YouTube music production? Like people like selling stuff, like paid reviews. You know, I mean, not just on YouTube. I guess like on Instagram and stuff like that too.
I don't really pay much attention to Instagram, but I don't pay any attention to TikTok. So YouTube, for me, I started messing around with the channel a couple of years ago, like 3 years ago, I guess. And then I did it for like a few months, and I was like sort of bored with it. I was like, I wasn't really putting in like crazy I mean, I don't put in a massive effort now, but like I was really putting in no effort back then. But then I took like a break, and I came back into it this year, or 24. And then somewhere in like June, things started sort of like becoming a channel, so to speak. You know, as you know, I'm no Beato, but you know, or not even like 10% of a Weaver, but I find it to be a weird scene.
Yeah,
the only way I could describe it, and I find that I'm constantly like adjusting to a bunch of things. Like one, the reality that like you don't know who you're talking to a lot, which is a weird thing. And I think it's easy to fall into an idea that like, oh, I know these people. That's an easy thing to fall into. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, wait a minute. Like, I thought I knew who I was talking to. And all of a sudden the wheels come off, and like, you know, there's some lunatic in the chat or whatever. There's that. And then there's the influencer thing, like you were talking about. Like, I'm very wary of the influencers.
I mean, I think so. I kind of have some theories on like the way it is. I guess because like music production is like kind of a niche thing. Like it's I mean, it's not like the smallest like hobby or profession in the world, but it's like it's not big enough for like a lot of YouTube producers to make money, like enough money to survive off of straight like ad revenue.
Yeah.
So I think they have to like hold on, I'm busy right now. Okay.
Very nice. Very nice.
Okay. Hold on a second.
Yeah. This is like, I think Weaver was a little bit nervous, and he was going to...
Okay. Sorry about that.
I thought maybe you were going to read the manual.
The demon escaped. Okay. The little demon escaped.
That's
all right.
Awesome.
Okay, so what I was saying. Okay, so like it's like a very small... It's a pretty small field, and I think it's like small enough that it's hard for people to make ad revenue, like just purely based off of ad revenue. Like it's pretty tough to make like a living off that. So basically it forces people to basically have to like take like product placements and sponsorships and whatnot in order to like just make it viable. Right. And it's kind of made it so like it's like normalized for like almost everyone is basically doing it. If that makes sense.
You mean on the like doing the product stuff and the affiliations,
paid reviews, affiliate. Like it's so normalized because it's like such a small field. It's not even that it's like really small, but it's like it's much smaller than like other sections of YouTube, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, well, I mean the music industry itself is small. It's nowhere near like the watch industry, which is like a $40 billion industry or whatever. But I am surprised though. Like say last night I did a video about some old school hip hop concepts, and that kind of always catches a little heat because like these dudes are really into it. And I'm always kind of surprised how many you think you know like the whole crowd, and then all of a sudden there's like a whole other army that comes.
Nah, that's the thing with YouTube. Like, it's like when you have a channel,
Yeah.
it always recommends it to new people.
Yeah.
You know, so like you're gonna get new people constantly. You never really know your audience.
Yeah.
You know, like because first of all, like not everybody who watches you comments. And then second of all, like especially if a video does well, it pushes it to like a wider audience. So then it starts getting shown to people who aren't subscribed to you, people who've never seen you before, maybe even people who aren't really into music production, you know? So like you never know what you're really gonna get.
Yeah.
And that's one reason why I mean, I'm not saying ignore the comments, but like just keep in mind that like there's 7 billion people out there, and like you don't know what you're gonna get. You know, you might get some unhinged people. Like I have this like schizo guy in my comments like lately, who's like he writes like 50 plus comments on every video, and all of it is just like complete nonsense.
Right.
It's like pretty concerning stuff. Like I was like joking the other day. I was like, yeah, if I ever disappear, like it was this guy for sure. Like it's 100% this guy. Like
yeah. Well, I told you about the guy that like the comment this afternoon. I have it somewhere here. Let me look at it. I mean, he wrote like a huge paragraph in my comment section, and it was like, I'll try and skip a couple of words here, but he's like, why is this old JEW boomer talking about 90s rap? And then he goes on to like trash me about like, I think I'm a legend because I worked with Jay-Z on one horrible song. Like he just goes off. And my thought was like, I'm leaving you in the comments because I have a feeling that the other people in the comment thing will actually attack this dude because he's the only one that like goes off the rails,
I mean, like, I don't know. That's one reason why I generally almost never delete or like mute comments.
Yeah.
Like just because like one, like I feel like people should be allowed to like have their opinions.
Yeah.
But two, because like usually it's like kind of like a self-regulating sort of thing. Unless somebody's like straight up like just like spitting like misinformation or like lies and like somehow deceiving people or something. Like generally like it's a self-regulating thing. Like if you have like a fan base, like they will like correct them or whatever, or they'll just get ignored. Like usually it's not like super important, in my opinion.
I think that I think there is a lot to that though, of like it's obviously it's like, it's not feeding, you don't feed them because like they'll only, if like that guy with the synth problem, I think if he didn't like fight back with the whole teenage engineering crowd, they would have just fucking drifted off. They would have forgot his video 5 days later. Who the hell is going to linger on it?
Yeah. That's another thing too. Like just like internet culture, like, they say don't feed the trolls.
Right.
And like the worst thing you can do is basically like address trolls, like especially through like a video format. Like you're kind of basically like, cause like when somebody's trolling you, like the whole point of trolling, like, I mean, like obviously there's like good faith trolling, like where you're just like, making like a little sarcastic joke or whatever. But then there's like the more like evil shit where you're like trying to like fuck with somebody like really hard, like maybe like ruin their life or something. And then like the whole thing is they're trying to get a reaction.
Yes.
So if you make a video addressing them, that's like the biggest reaction you can give them.
Yeah.
Like so basically like you're basically letting them know like they're probably just like, oh my god, he made a video because of the thing I said or the thing I did. Like, like so somebody like like doxing you and calling your phone or something, making a video about that, they're gonna be like, oh my god, he made a video about the thing I did, like
yeah. Now, do you think, like in the case of, oh, by the way, see that Logan Berry says that Weaver just tells them to quit. Now, you kind of technically stole that from me.
I mean, you steal from me too, man.
This could be true. This could be true. Yeah.
It's okay though. I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's like just like I just borrowed it, a little bit.
No, I have fun with it. I love it. I mean, that night I don't remember. I only say the quit the business stuff about the video guys. I would never say that about some kid that's making music that's putting up on your beat review stuff. Because that's personal. But like when you're reacting to a video and it's some guy, I don't know, maybe it's a guy talking about how Pro Tools was never an industry standard. I mean, I was really tempted to hit the quit the business on that one because like that was laughable. And apparently that's like
Yeah.
that's like causing all kind. I'm seeing in my shit like people are reacting to that. Like going back and forth with him on that. I think he was trolling also. I mean, I think
Yeah,
he was,
there's like, I mean, it's good to kind of understand the way the internet works. Like, there's like rage bait. Like,
Yeah.
there's a bunch of like things that people do where it's like bait, like basically like saying something intentionally like wrong or intentionally upsetting in order to get a reaction out of people. I mean, it's just kind of like trolling.
Yeah.
What was I gonna say?
Well, listen, when I said I titled one of my things, please stop making beats or something like that. I knew that was going to fucking poke a few people. You know what I mean? Like, I was kind of serious. Like, I don't need to hear that. If you're going to do a demonstration of a, something, a drum machine or something like that, like, I don't really need to see. I don't really need to see you make that same beat over again. Like, why don't you just hit play?
See, the thing is like, you can't please everyone because like there's gonna be people who are like, why didn't you do a demo on that? You know what I mean? Like, and then there's gonna be other people who are like, oh, you made the same beat as before on there. Like, and it's just like, there's always gonna be someone who's not happy. What I was gonna say though is like, usually when I say like the quitting the business stuff or like a lot of that stuff, I'm being like satirical or like like sarcastic.
Yeah,
like,
me too.
Like, because like I don't really think anybody should quit the business or quit making videos unless they're like an actual like scammer or something like that.
Yeah,
then it's like, okay, maybe I do like actually mean that, but generally like I'm just messing around. Like, and it's always funnier to not say you're joking. Like that always ruins a joke to be like, oh, I'm just joking, by the way. It's like, oh, okay.
Well, which by the way, at the end of my video that I put out last night, the very end, I said, by the way, I'm not quitting the business, but teenage engineering should. And I ended the video. And don't you know that like 2 like teenage engineering fans somehow made it to the end of the 14-minute video and found that and were like, this was a really good video except for the whole teenage engineering thing. I'm like they have some loyal fanboys. Very loyal.
I mean, some people can't really identify a joke either. Like, I mean, sometimes it's just like not. Sometimes the joke is not even really funny either. Like somebody's just like saying like, how is that sarcasm? Like anything could be sarcastic, as long as it's not like something you actually mean. Like Freeman Hubbard, you should quit the business. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
listen,
obviously I don't mean
I mean,
that.
as you know, like a lot of people don't, a lot of people are like, why the fuck does this guy play croissant videos in his stream? But, do I expect everybody to be there for the whole 4 hours to know how that came about? No, it came about because I was fucking delirious one night talking about like shit I like to watch or something. And I was like, it's like this thing. And a bunch of the guys went nuts, and we were actually having a lot of laughs about it. So it just hangs around, and it's fun. You do long streams and that like, at a certain point, you need a breather, especially if you're just talking to a blank screen for fucking 4 hours and like answering a million questions and trying to keep track of what's going on. If you saw TES some bombs, defective display, it's amazing that the passion that teenage engineering stirs up. I've seen that in different things. Like, first of all, I think they're genius branders. Their marketing and branding is impeccable.
Very, very appealing to like the hipster sort of crowd. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, it's like to them, like to the people who like teenage engineering stuff, or a majority of them, like they don't think an NPC is cool. Yeah. But you give them like this like sleek design, something like small with like a gray design, like a bunch of different shades of gray, and they're just like, oh wow, that's amazing. Oh, but it's not as good as this other thing. I don't care. Look at it. Like, yeah.
No, they've got it. I mean, I looked at their website the other day and I was like, it's a fucking really appealing looking website. Like, and there's not too many of those left anymore. Website design has gone to shit, but their site is slick. Their photography is slick. Their whole thing. And I think that other company that does the Chroma console and stuff like that, they're very good at making their toys look like the ultimate hipster toy. It's a fucking multi-effect that is really no different than a Line 6 HX stomp with a couple of little extra things, but they made it interesting looking for that, you know, the little rainbow
there's like
colors.
there's a whole market for this now. I'm actually going to do a video on it pretty soon. I like wrote the script for it.
Okay.
But basically there's you ever heard of the chompy? Like there's like this whole like subsect of like design or like music production like tools, or I mean I guess you would almost call this one a toy more so than anything, but like it's more so like about like the way it looks than what it does. You know, like here, let me send you this link here. You got to pull this up on your screen.
Thanks a lot, Intricate. Let's see. You're going to send me a link.
Can you access the chat in what is this? VOD Ninja? Video Ninja?
Video Ninja.
Yeah, or look up chompyclub.com. Like, you got to see this thing. This thing, like, it's like this thing, like, it blew up when it came out. Like, it got like millions of views. They were like, nobody knew who they were before this.
How do you spell Chompy Club?
CHOM, or here, I'll put it in the chat. All right, Chompy.
Oh, I got it. Chompy with an I, right?
Yeah. Like basically, like it's almost like the way it looks is more important than like what it does. Like you like trying to make a track on this thing is like you're like so far behind compared to like an actual groove box or something like that.
Let me see if I have. You know, you're testing me with my skills here. Let's see here.
But it's pretty bizarre. Like I feel like Teenage Engineering is kind of to blame for this. Like this sort of like design over functionality, you know, and like their stuff is like pretty functional, but I feel like it kind of opened people up into being more appealed to the you know, the way something looks, you know.
Yeah, this is kind of wacky looking. I mean,
it is like the thing is like this got millions of views when it came out. Like it sold out so hard, but then when the actual reviews dropped of this thing when it came out, it was just like, oh, like this thing is like it's basically just like a toy, you know? Like
I mean, I'm scrolling through the site. $615.
Yeah.
Can you see that? You can see the screen.
Yes. Or I have your stream open. I got it.
What does it play? Like, what is the sound?
Like you can sample with it, and the thing is, like, you can record sounds into it. And one thing that's really funny about it is, like, since it's got mechanical keys, when you press the sound, the key in order to sample something, the key click goes in with it.
Really?
So, like, you basically, whenever you sample something, you have to like press it and then wait, you know, and then you have to cut out the beginning part. Like, it's like it's just interesting because it's like it's really like a it shows like it's like a sign of the times, I guess. Like, you know, like they've kind of run out of like ways to like innovate. So the next thing to do is to like make it appealing through the way it looks, you know, or the branding and whatnot.
Yeah. So that
and it really works. It really works to do that.
So they're doing a collab with Chase Bliss, which is another hipster pedal guitar pedal company. So it's kind of interesting. Yeah, like I said, it's like it is definitely a nerd fest. I wonder how much it costs them to make that damn thing. Probably cost them about $8 in China or something.
Yeah, or like less than 100 for sure. But yeah, it's just pretty interesting the way things are changing, I guess.
Well, I mean, there's only so far you can go with the software, and everyone's
or the hardware even,
and the hardware. But the software is like, what doesn't it do at this point, right? I mean, that was part of like my thought on the whole Pro Tools thing was that like every DAW is amazing now. I mean, in its own way. Yeah. And even for me now, like for the most part, and I had talked about this, that Pro Tools was kind of driving me up the wall because it can be behind on certain things, but Pro Tools has its advantages. Also, I hate to break it to that guy, but like it was the industry. Has been no other industry standard other than a Studer tape machine and 24-inch,
Yeah.
24
I
track
mean,
tape.
how can something really be the industry standard though, especially with the way the industry has changed though?
Yeah,
I guess
now
is
it's different. Now it's different.
because there's so many home studios and
Yeah.
like things can be done in home studios. Like,
Yeah.
who really decides what is industry standard? I really think like just having a functioning DAW is like really what is like standard. You know, like. And there's not really a point in debating what is industry standard, you know. Like, I guess like the reason why it had that label to begin with was because of like major studios and the fact that it was almost the only thing people would use in a major studio.
It was the only thing you could use because the hardware allowed you to have that interface with the consoles. So like, you know, I would go to a place like Quad and they'd have, I don't know, some rooms would have 6 8-channel interfaces. So you had 48 ins and outs.
Yeah.
There wasn't like something you couldn't do that with a Logic or a Cubase or something like that. It was just like there was no hardware situation. And people forget that, you know, not long ago, before Apple bought Logic was really expensive for a while there. Then all of a sudden it was like fucking $199. But from what I remember, Logic used to be like $600 back in the day. And that wasn't that long ago. John Makes Beats says companies, for the most part, are moving away from flagship towards forward stuff and leaning into mid-tier market curios. Bigger market for users who just want a little thing that... Listen, I've said it. I mean, without hobbyists and without the, like, you know, the home guy, Sweetwater and stuff like that is out of business. I mean, there just aren't enough pros to, like, fill that. I mean, look at NAMM.
I mean, realistically, that's what's like keeping the whole market alive at this point. You know, like all these companies basically need hobbyists, or like, you know,
this guy.
I don't know.
This dude said, I have a deep fried camera filter. That's fucking hilarious. Where did it go? I mean, I want to put that back up. That was just too good. Here it is. Tony Black got a deep fried camera filter. Haystack Sniper. Now, see, he's not a member, so he's at risk right now because my basic credo is like, if you're not a member for the 99 cents and you start spewing, you'll be gone. Somebody else was begonned earlier. It was like got a little too comfortable. But it was the industry standard. I think I told you the other day, like if you didn't know Pro Tools from like 99 to about 2015, 16, you didn't eat. You couldn't work. You know, in
not unless you were working at home or something.
In the major industry stuff, like, you know, like like whatever you want to call it, major label, that kind of stuff. And it was, there's a million reasons, and it's also they got there first. That's always a way to be an industry standard, is be the first to entry.
And then you can kind of claim it. I don't even know if they personally claimed it, but like, I mean, I don't know. I guess like it was more so people in studios saying that, you know?
I mean, here's the thing. Like, if they can't claim it, like, tell me who can.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, I didn't mean it like that. I'm not saying them, like...
No, I mean, what other company? Like, could Logic say, like, we're the industry standard? No.
Well, no, yeah.
Studio One? No, not at all. They're great, but they can't say that. What is this? Tony is brutal in his authority. I think they're talking about the detonating the, you know, I don't really have...
non-member, non-member people.
I don't really have much. Yeah, I don't have much. I don't have a need to like tolerate any BS. So if I see some BS or whatever, be like, yeah, you're gone. Like one guy asked the other day on my Sunday morning little stream, we were talking about the stream from Friday night where I did like an hour-long tutorial on mixing and stuff. I think it was mixing. And this numbnut goes like, so what did I miss on Friday night that you guys are talking about? And I was like, do you really want us to like stop what we're talking about and explain to you what you missed on Friday night? I was like, are you sure? And then he said something like that again. And I was like, yeah, delete. Goodbye.
I mean, I feel like, I'm assuming, hopefully that person was hoping someone in the chat would fill them in or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, what was I going to say? Oh, okay. I'm curious. What are your thoughts on Ableton?
I mean, to be dead honest, like I've looked at it and it literally never made any sense to me. Like I don't get it. You know what I mean? It was almost the equivalent of like the first time, and you were a big Reason guy. The first time someone opens up Reason, they're like, what the hell is going on here? Right. You know? So
I think I made a joke before. Oh, sorry.
Okay.
I made a joke before, like when you open Reason the first time, you open it and then you're just like, never mind. Like, just close it. Yeah.
You're like, I'm trying to pick a sound. Like, what is going on? Like, where am I going? And I felt that like I've looked at Ableton and been like, so to me, it's like literally like a different way of putting music together. I don't think it's it's not like, typical. It's not linear. And somebody told me that there's some button you can click and it would give me a timeline that looks
like basically you press tab and it switches back and forth between like this like loop based workflow and then like the sequencer. So like I usually mostly work in the sequencer, but the reason why I always thought Ableton was cool is that like loop based workflow is really cool if you're doing like a electronic like live set.
Yeah.
Where you're like mixing together like loops or like playing something live and then looping it and then playing another thing live.
Yeah.
Like, and then plus it all runs off the hard drive. The clip mode runs off the hard drive. So you can like have thousands of clips in there or make like thousands of clips. So like you can make like the craziest like live show with that if it's like electronically like.
That to me is like, yeah, that's like, that's another art form. That makes my head hurt. I mean, I go back to the days of like literally one of the first sequencers was Performer before it was Digital Performer, whatever it is. I think it still exists, right? And they had that like nested looping thing where you could like, you could put a little block somewhere and it would be looping there when the song got to there, and then it would that kind of shit is like so not guitar player, rock producer guy that like it made my head hurt. I was like, I don't even understand what the fuck is going on.
I mean, the way you describe that sounds kind of confusing. I mean, like Ableton, I think kind of keeps it pretty simple because it's just like you hit tab and you're not even dealing with that mode anymore. You know what I mean?
That's what
like,
someone told me.
Like,
right. Okay.
Like, but yeah, I've been like teaching people a little bit here and there. Like I do like some lessons sometimes.
Oh, really?
And like trying to explain to people like Ableton, like I guess it's probably like this with any DAW, but like you kind of realize like how much there is to learn. Like it's like, oh wow, like starting from scratch, like this is like not easy. You know what I mean? Like it may seem like second nature after you've been using it for a while.
Yeah.
But explaining it to somebody new, it's like you gotta tell them like, okay, you put your mouse here, but it has to be exactly right there, you know, and then a certain thing pops up and then you gotta like drag that, and then it's a lot like it's funny because like it becomes so like natural after a long time, you know.
And I don't know if I'm like deep fried or if like my old fashioned is sort of like heating up my face or something like that. Like,
no, you're good. It looks like you have like a LUT on. You know what that is? Like I'm not sure how familiar with video stuff you are. It's like a filter or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like it looks fine. It's just the lighting.
I'm using like a $50 webcam.
Oh, okay. Well, that's pretty good for a $50 webcam.
Yeah, it's an Anker, Anker,
Anker. Like a $600 camera, like a Canon.
Yeah, no, this thing it's an Anker C200 or some shit. I got tired of trying to. Well, I couldn't use my other camera for streaming because it just didn't have the. I couldn't do the thing with the cam link or anything like that. It was too old. But anyway, I think that the whole listen. I think even something like the MPC software is fine. I mean, if you can't make a track with that, you can't make a track. and you could record to it now and do all those kinds of things, and then export it to a different DAW if you really wanted to. I mean, I've made songs in that software without an MPC. I just have the MPC Beats software or MPC software. All the shit is fucking hugely powerful now. Like anything that anything that a kid has today, I would have gave my left nut for, in 1995, like in a heartbeat. Like, what? You could do this?
I mean, that's one thing I always think is funny about the DAW wars. Like, I mean, personally for me, like I'm like invested in it, like ironically, like I don't actually care.
Yeah.
Like when I'm like, oh, like FL Studio's winning now or something like that, I'm just like, yeah, I don't really mean that. But like, it's funny because some people will actually like be serious about it. Like they'll be like, if you use FL Studio, you make kid beats or something like that, and it's just like, oh man, like
right.
Like, come on, man. Like there's people like getting like major placements with it. Like you can do a lot with like any of these DAWs nowadays. Like I don't know, even Audacity has some crazy stuff now. Like you can do crazy stuff with Audacity. Like it's basically like a full-fledged DAW now.
I'm sure. I'm gonna adjust my. This fuckers are they're fucking with me. I'm taking a little heat off. I'm going bluer. How about that? One guy says the hue is off. I mean, I'm a pale white guy.
now it looks worse.
It looks worse.
Sometimes you just gotta ignore the chat. I mean, not like completely ignore them, but like sometimes they're just messing with you.
Oh yeah.
Like sometimes people will be like, "Oh, you're muted," when you're not really muted. Like that kind of thing. Like they're just messing with you.
Look at this.
The arrow.
Weaver is the only compelling YouTuber watching others that I can bear.
Oh, that's nice.
Very nice.
I'm assuming he means like reacting to content.
I mean, you do a good job with all your, your maniacal, like WNN and all that kind of stuff. I do have to do this for you. Someone wanted the arrow. The arrow is a big thing.
Yeah, Weaver beats and then point it to my head.
Yeah. So yeah, the DAW thing, like I said, I can't believe anybody would complain about the MPC software when it does as much shit as it does. Like, it's fun.
Yeah.
And that's really what it comes down to with all this stuff. Like, if you could... Somebody says, Tony, you're muted? Like, how the hell am I muted?
No, see, they're not. They're messing with you.
Oh, okay.
That's definitely someone from my channel.
Just kidding. VJM. Okay, VJM. Yeah, I mean... What's the point? Like, if you can make a track with it, you can make a track with it. And like I said, the same thing with the plug-in game. That was what I did my video on a lot of last night, was like trying to explain just how little amount of stuff we used on all these tracks that everyone loves in this whole, the 90s hip-hop fans and then the boom bap fans and all that stuff. Like, in trying to like chase that, they're actually going in the wrong direction, because we were using like minimal amounts of stuff. We didn't have access to like all these things. So there's a little bit of the secret is that
less is more.
Less is a lot more. Plus, one of the big problems that I've talked about is that like the sample libraries, even the ones in particular, like I find that F9 is a really good source, but like a lot of stuff on Splice is normalized quite a bit, so and limited, so like there's no dynamic range. So you put a kick drum in and a snare drum in that are just smashed, and you're like, well, why doesn't this feel like a sample does off vinyl that's like that I hear on a Nas record or something like that? And it's like, because those things actually have a little bit of transience and move.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to keep up. Nino Tritone is a big ASR 10 guy. I know that for a fact, and he's quite territorial with that. F9. Yes, F9 does some really good shit. They work their asses off too. I watched a few of at least one of their videos where the shit that the guy goes through to make these libraries, off the charts. Sort of like addictive drums.
Let's see. I got some topics here.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm guessing you're not going to NAMM. What are your thoughts on NAMM?
Well, I mean, I go way back to NAMM. Like, you know, I'm 100 years older than you guys, so
Yeah.
I knew NAMM when it was music merchants only, no public, and it was the entire Anaheim Civic Center filled. That's how big the industry was as far as music merchants. So that was like every store in the country went there to put their orders in and see the new shit for the coming year. Like you had to go there to like set up your dealerships and things like that. Like I started off working at a little music store. So
Yeah, I think the internet probably changed it a lot.
yeah, I mean, there was no ordering. I'm talking like, 1989.
Yeah,
And it was like, it was an insane scene. And you either had to work at a music store or work for a music company to get in. So it was a different scene. And as things, like you said, have changed where, there's all the mom and pop stores are kind of gone. And then there's the Guitar Centers and the Sweetwaters and things like that. And all the online shit, Reverb now. So they had to open it up to the public to create something. And now all the companies are direct to consumer now, most of them. So they're selling at those things. There was, back in the day, there was no selling that went on there except through the dealership who came in and said like, yeah, I want, 50 Fenders over the next 6 weeks, put me down. So it was all about deal making. Now it's about the consumer interaction, because I guarantee you, like, Sweetwater is not going there to like see new products.
yeah.
The new products come to Sweetwater and say like, please carry us in your online store.
Something that I've noticed. I went a couple of years back, and I'm
Yeah.
assuming I feel like it's probably changed a lot over the past. I mean, this is just a theory. I'm probably correct though, but over the past like 5 or maybe more than that years, I feel like they've changed the way they've done it, because like a lot of stuff gets released before and after it, but like they almost never are announcing new things there. Like if anything, because when I went there before, like almost everything that I saw there was something I already had known about.
Oh, really?
Like, I mean, since I do the news, like, I mean, I'm like tapped in with like everything that's coming out the second it does, basically.
Yeah.
And then so, like, I think there was only a few things I saw that entire time that I went there that were not already out or something I had known about already. Like, and they were basically like things that were like coming soon, like they were like working on. Basically they were showing something off that they're working on.
It's did you find that it was mostly like gear crazy people just roaming around trying to see new shit, or was there
Well, I mean, I only knew the people that I knew already. Like I didn't really like meet any new people, but
Yeah.
like I mean, there was like I knew some YouTubers there. I mean, it seemed, I don't really know who it is that goes to it. Like I don't really know other than like the YouTubers I knew there, because I didn't really like introduce myself to like new people. I did kind of stream on YouTube when I was there. No, I'm not going to NAMM this year because I'm kind of short on money, and then also I think there may be some people that want to kill me. Like, so I think I need to like kind of lay low from NAMM at least this year.
really?
Well, yeah, I've upset some people.
Okay. I think that going back to the beginning, it was still a situation where like musicians were going there trying to get hookups and get gear. I don't think that'll ever change. That was like, I'm going there to work. I'm going there to work this fucking pedal company so that I could get an endorsement. Endorsements were like a big thing back then. Now I'm sure it's influencer stuff of like, hey, I'll do like, fucking 10 videos about your pedals if you hook me up with 10 pedals,
Yeah.
Do you know the guy, the guitar player guy, Mark Johnston? He does He does some pretty in-depth, heavy-duty like gear review stuff. It's kind of interesting on YouTube.
Nah, no, I don't know.
That's like I'm a guitar geek, so like I kind of drift into that territory quite a bit.
Yeah, there's a lot of people like I mean my friend that I went there with something hit the keys. He was trying to like network like pretty hard when he was there. I thought that was pretty funny. Like he was trying to like, you know, talk about like, hey, I'm a YouTuber, I got this many subscribers, like I want to do videos for your guys' stuff and stuff like that. I'm just like I don't know. I'm like more that's not the type of person I am. Like if anything, I was just trying to like figure out what's going on, like, you know, maybe like, you know, record something for a video, but I wasn't like trying to like get the hookups or anything, you know what I mean? Or like I don't know, like I'm not really that kind of
person. That's the hustle. Americanica, I was there. I saw that. I saw Eddie Van Halen jam with Billy Idol and Steve Stevens at the Kramer booth. That was an insane. You know who Eddie Van Halen is, right? I would guess.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Let me just tell you this: when Eddie Van Halen was the NAMM show, from about, I would say from '83 to '89. In other words, like the fire department would come and fucking shut the place down and like clear the way just to get him through the hallway. Like the whole crowd was there to see Eddie Van Halen. It was totally surreal. And he was the industry at that point. Like every fucking guitar company was there shilling something that like they could sort of say like, well, you know, Eddie, you can get this out of Eddie's sound. I don't know who would...
Eddie looked at this guitar earlier today.
Eddie,
you should buy it.
Eddie might have breathed something, you know, like he smoked a cigarette next to this one, and and that was something. But it was that's how different it was. And yeah, I mean, there were a lot more. I don't know about now, but like there were a lot of like celebrity musicians that would show up. I mean, I stood next to Jeff Beck in one booth and this one and that one, and it was like, you know, the guys from Kiss, you know, Gene Simmons or whatever. But
Nice.
I think once they opened it up to the public, then those guys probably didn't feel safe in a lot of ways, like showing
I mean,
up.
there's a lot of people there. Yeah, it's probably a bit much. One thing that was really funny the year I went is there was like these radicalist Christian people who were like standing outside and then they're basically saying like, you're gonna burn in hell, like rock is the devil's music and all this stuff. And it was kind of funny because like, I mean, like, I'm sure like more than half the people there, probably more than that, probably 75% of the people weren't like into rock, you know? Like, I mean, I feel like rock's like a smaller genre these days than like, you know, rap and pop and stuff like that. And it was just really bizarre. Like I actually got some footage of it in the video I had done.
That's crazy.
It was pretty bizarre. Like it was like being outside an abortion clinic or something like that. It was weird.
God. I mean, you would think they would have better places to go than a fucking music convention. You know what I mean?
They don't. I mean, you would think they have better places to go than an abortion clinic too. You know what I mean? Like those people are nuts, man.
Yeah, music instrument convention. Let's go and protest. I mean, that's pretty wild. What do you have? Like, what are your thoughts on like where your channel is? Like, what are your plans for your channel? You have like any new thoughts that you're doing? Like anything?
Well, I'm doing like a news video. Like I was working on editing. I'll probably have that up tonight.
Okay.
I mean, down the road, I kind of want to move towards doing more like video essay, like semi like documentary stuff down the road.
Okay.
At a certain point, but like, I mean, I'm still gonna do the news. Like, if I were to stop doing it, I would move it to like my other channel or something.
Yeah.
But because like I know a lot of people kind of want that. But yeah, I don't know. I guess because I feel like it's like something that's more, you know, polished and I don't know, like maybe might be more like passionate about it or something. Because at a certain point, you have to change up what you do. Like I've been doing the news for like a few years now.
Okay.
So like at a certain point, it's just like another new plugin that I've already basically talked about before. You know, at a certain point, it's just kind of redundant.
I feel you. Listen, I mean, you know, it's like anything, but I have other friends of mine that have sort of gotten into having a channel or whatever, and another friend of mine that's considering putting a little more effort into his. My thought is like you kind of just got to do what like you enjoy, because if you don't, I don't see how that would connect with anyone.
With anyone.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
I guess
that's
there's
true.
some guys that can be like unbelievably fraudulent and just fake it, but I mean, at least people I know personally, like I tell them, like, look, you're not capable of being like a fake person, so like you should just do what's natural to you, so that you actually fucking enjoy it, and
Yeah.
and find people that enjoy your shit. You know, like it might take a while, but
the thing is like you need to. I mean, at least in my opinion. So like when I started doing YouTube, like I started. Like I tried a bunch of different things. What I kind of feel like is you need to do something that you enjoy and the audience is also interested in.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because if you enjoy, you can do something you enjoy, but that doesn't mean that the audience is going to care. You know,
definitely.
It's like you have to find like a middle ground where it's like there's like an overlap. You know?
Yeah, I feel like, listen, you know what, to some degree, what will YouTube is unpredictable. Also, like I've done videos, of course, we all have, where like you're like, man, I think I really did a good job with that one, and fucking YouTube doesn't know what to do with it, and they like you get no impressions, and you're like, oh, I guess I fucking missed the mark on that one, or they threw it into like some area that didn't get any momentum, and then they were just like, it just goes into the vapor. But like last night's video, I didn't put much into like the thought or the thumbnail or the fucking anything. It's been my best. I don't even know what it's doing right now, but like it's been my.
Let me see. Oh wow. You know what it is? The title and thumbnail is like the biggest thing by far, and I think it's the title specifically in this one because like the thumbnail is one thing.
Yeah.
Like thumbnails, like I feel like is extracurricular because like if you have like a good title, the thumbnail could be anything. Like if people read the title, they're gonna be like, "Oh wait, that's interesting."
Yeah,
and I can see why. I feel like I know why this performed well. This is why you're not getting close to '90s hip hop.
Yeah,
like that's kind of like people were interested in making '90s hip hop, and they're like, "Why am I not getting close to that?" You know, like it kind of like it kind of baits them into clicking on it. If they care about that topic, they're immediately gonna be like, "Wait, I want to know why." You know,
right. Now I had no. It didn't cross my mind as I was talking about it. I just was like, like I can sort of sum this up. I was like, maybe I'll see if I can make a video, because I generally just do a fucking take. I don't like plan anything. The only thing I did do this one was I did clean up some stuff, because I was like, I think I was kind of dragging a little bit. I mean, I talk slow to begin with, but I got rid of some of the like air and the uhs, and I was like, all right, that's enough. But I didn't obviously put anything into the thumbnail. I mean, it's like a fucking picture of you.
It's just a picture of yourself, and then it's got like white borders on the side. Yeah, it's not like the most like deeply.
Apparently, I look like
it actually has like nothing. It actually has nothing to do with the video, really.
Nothing. But yeah, like it's over 5K, and it's got 422 likes and 130 comments. It's like massive engagement, but and I probably got a couple of hundred subs off of it, actually. But
nice.
It's I mean, I did one the other day where I was playing guitar and showing how to use pedals to like basically get like chroma console sounds without spending the money on a chroma console thing. Crickets.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know much about the chroma console thing. I'm guessing like I feel like you kind of did like I feel like we're going to like a YouTube masterclass thing here, but whatever. Like I think you're doing too much of almost like a meme. Like people, a lot of times I'll like ask people like, oh, like you have any ideas for a title or thumbnail or something, and then they'll like suggest a joke. And the thing is, like, jokes are great, but I think they're not effective as like YouTube titles and thumbnails, because it's like you're trying to like make it as easy to understand to as many people as possible, kind of like pandering to like the lowest common denominator almost. Not really pandering, but you know what I mean, but just making it appealable to the lowest common denominator. Like, and it's probably better just to be like, you don't need a chroma console or something, you know what I mean? Like that would probably work way better than this whole like, do I need this or do I want this?
But I tell you what, I think that crowd is almost like the teenage engineering crowd. Like, they'll take it personally. I don't know if I feel like dealing with that. So they're all one-upping each other. They're trying to say they listen to me at 1.25, the 1.5.
Oh my god.
Another guy's saying, I mean, 1.5 is fucking like that's nerve-wracking. But
It depends who it is for sure. Like, I mean, there's certain people I put at 1.5 and they sound normal.
yeah, it's funny. Busy Works Beats. Is that him?
Yeah. Weaver's a hack. I mean, bro, I'm not trying to get into this right now.
Ah, he's laughing. I think the bear is he's having fun.
I mean, I will say this, man. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I don't want to be a dick. I'm not gonna be a dick. You know what? I'm all positive today. I'm zen. You can't bring me down. I'm not a hack. If anything, I have the hacks.
You're clearly not a hack. I will vouch for you. You're not a hack. I mean, would I say like, hey, come on in the chat if I thought you were a hack? I mean, what the fuck is that? What's that saying about my judgment there, Mr. Bear? Anyway, it's like, you know, the scene is the scene. Like I said, we've talked about some of the Pro Tools stuff I wanted to talk to. There was one thing I have my little notes over here. Where did it go? Oh, you know what I have a problem with? You're a plugin reviewer guy and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, sometimes.
How do you feel about, like, I don't think it's appropriate that a company, there's one right now that's like pushing the shit out of their plugin with J37 tape or whatever it is.
Oh, yeah. Arteria, right?
Yeah, which I like that company, but they're calling it, I'm looking at it here, J37 tape saturation plugin. I wonder if it's appropriate for them to actually say tape. It is not tape in any way, shape, or form. It's misinforming. You know, it should say maybe tape emulation, but it doesn't say that anyway. It's
yeah. I mean, it does it. I mean, it probably says it on their website or something. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, do they have to really put it in the title? I see what you're saying though. I mean, because who's gonna fall for that though? And like,
well, they're calling it a tape machine plugin right on Sweetwater, like tape machine plugin. Like that is not true.
Well, yeah. I mean, of course it's not true, but I mean, like, who's gonna really think it's a tape machine plugin? You know what I mean? Like, I get what you're saying. Like,
I think
I would think that
for $99, I'm saying like a tape machine, and I'm like, this is exactly what I need. I mean, I need it.
It does sound good though. Have you heard it?
No, I haven't heard it.
It sounds pretty good. Like, I mean, it's like one of those things where you only use a little bit of it, but if you use too much of it, then it just sounds like shit. But it sounds really good if you put a little bit of it on something.
I mean, I have so many of those. I have so many of those things. I could probably think of 5 off the top of my head, right? I have.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the thing with like plugins these days. Is they're like making so many things that exist already, and it's like unless it's like cheaper, better, or like has a better workflow, like it doesn't have any value in my opinion.
Yeah.
Or if it's like free, like if it's something that exists that costs money, but you make a free version of it.
Yeah.
Like there you go. Like you got to like somehow like one up the competition.
I will tell you, there's a good de-esser that I got for free. I guess it was Christmas time or whatever. And I've been using it quite a bit. I wish I could tell you what the fucking name of it is. Hold on a second. De-esser Plus.
Yeah, Techovation. Okay, yeah, I haven't tried this. Like, what makes it like different than other de-esser plugins?
I will say this: it does like the saturation and things like it does all that tape emulation, saturation kind of thing. Aside from the de-essing, you know, de-essing has always been a bit of a thorn for like guys who mix particularly in the box. Like nothing has ever sounded as good as a DBX 902 de-esser hardware unit. Like no plugin really is as smooth as that and not as noticeable. So like, you know, you had all the like Avid had a de-esser, several companies have had de-esser. There was one guy, Massey, that had one, that I don't even know if you can get anymore. That was like pretty close. But this thing, and there was also one in the BX Master Desk. You ever hear of that mastering plugin?
Yeah. The BX Master Desk.
So that had a good one for de-essing a master, you know, because I don't know if you're not old enough to know back in the day, but like mastering engineers would put a de-esser on the mix.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard of that sometimes. I've never personally done that. Like, is that what is just in case like the highs get to be too much here and there or something?
For one, it comes down to sibilance, and like sibilance is a problem for cutting vinyl.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So
yeah, I've never mastered for vinyl. Like, I've done lots of mastering, but never for vinyl.
Yeah, that's
gone down that path.
That was where that came from. I mean, but anyway, like the plug-in de-esser has always been sort of like a very elusive thing, and I will say that that thing is pretty close. It's pretty usable, but I've also started using it on things like snare drums, hi-hats, and I've found like kind of like to my point about what that I said yesterday about everything being so like limited and hot. Like if you're building a track with a loop from, you know, and I use things from some Splice here and there as ingredients, like a
careful, Tony, careful. No, I'm just kidding.
Like a bed of a loop, like a drum loop. Like I'm not going to sit there and bother to program a fucking EDM drum loop when there are literally like 50,000 of them that somebody put all the work into. But I mean,
sometimes I'll do stuff like that too. Like I'm like, oh, I need like a trap hi-hat loop or something, and I'm just well, I could just take this one and chop it up a little bit. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel with like a fucking 4 on the floor kick, or kick snare with a little hat. But I do find that all of them tend to be hyped. They're all like hit with like exciter and limiter, and they're just fucking in your, and then you don't really notice it until you throw something on it to like calm it down, whether it's lo-fi or something like that, where you just like calm it all down. You're like, oh yeah, my ears don't feel so agitated now. They're like, there's like a little bit of like a tape kind of mellowness. It's funny because like I talked about the hip hop thing, like, and a lot of guys, they're obsessed with the tone. A lot of it had to do with the fact that those fucking tape reels were like crumbling. Like the tape loss from like just playing the shit over and over again. Like there were times where I would cycle a 2-inch tape machine for 4 hours while someone was writing a beat. There was no looping anything. It was literally like set a start and stop time. If you were lucky enough to have an 827 Studer that had that. So I'll tell you this. I mean, I always love dropping names because I'm just a name dropper. But like, I'm there with like Biggie.
Get your Grammy before you name drop.
I mean,
anyways, I'm there with Biggie.
And
anyways, I'm there with Biggie, and then you take a sip out of it. You have like your
yeah, and he's there with his mayonnaise jar of weed. And back when weed was just weed, but say it was a 4-minute song, and he was like, "Yeah, can you just play the tape?" You know, okay, you played for 4 minutes, then you got to wait like 30 seconds for it to fucking rewind. And then play it again. 4 or 5 hours later, he's like, "Is the mic ready?" And you're like, "It's been fucking ready for like 6 hours." You know, I wouldn't say that to him, but I'd be like, "Yeah, it's up, it's ready." And he'd go in there and do his fucking verse.
Now I gotta rewind the mic.
Right? You're like, "Oh, let me set that up. I didn't know we were doing vocals tonight." You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. But those tapes, after that many hours of like tracking the beat, getting a mix up or whatever, having like how many MCs write to it, could be a couple of days of that tape playing on the machine you know,
Yeah.
over the course of 3 12-hour sessions. And then by the time you mixed it, that fucking thing like was rounded off. It didn't have the sizzle that it did when you first recorded it all. And there's no getting it back by EQing, or, you know, you could throw a Pultec on something to brighten it up and all that, but like that's part of why things don't sound as painfully sizzly as they do now. It's like that's the tape loss.
Wow.
Not J37 tape saturation. I mean, we were trying to record things as clean as possible back then.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't want hiss, we didn't want tape distortion. We wanted it to sound like it sounded in the room coming back through the speakers. Eventually, then you get into like the folklore now where it's like, don't you want all that, you know, didn't you guys love all that distortion and all that kind of stuff? Like, no, we were trying to fucking get rid of it. We were battling it all. Like when digital came along, we were all like, yes, you know, my microphone sounds exactly like my microphone. I'm trying to read all this stuff here. That's why they sound that way. They were. Oh, Nino Tritone. Do you know Nino Tritone? He's always on my chat here.
I recognize him a bit.
He's a boisterous guy. Is the high end notched out on tape? I mean, it's less. I mean, tape itself doesn't go up to like, you know, what digital does on a frequency response kind of thing. I mean, that's just normal. It's all about the layers. You know the layer cake thing, right?
Yeah.
I got dinged enough times on the copyright shit for that. Oh my God. Let's see here. It was just the claim though, crap. Like, you know, I haven't gotten any claims today for some reason. And I played that whole Karma video. I thought I was going to get it on that one.
You're probably fine on most videos unless it's like one place I could never play is Joe Budden's podcast. For some reason, they always block anything. Like you cannot react to his stuff. But like a majority of like smaller channels, I would say, like you're absolutely fine. And like it's within fair use too to react to it as long as you're like giving some sort of commentary. Like so like it would be fine like legally as well too. Yeah. So I wouldn't really worry about that. But music, on the other hand, like, oh man, playing music, that's where, even though it would technically be fair use, but the thing is, for some reason, it gets abused a lot. It's especially with like major labels, like they will claim or strike or block like anything. Like you can't play like a Kendrick record or something like that, you know?
Right.
Even though technically you should be allowed to, because like if you were, let's say you're reviewing it and then you're playing like portions of it and giving your thoughts on it, that would technically be fair use, and you should be allowed to do that, but you would have to take it to a courtroom for that to be decided, you know? Like, so it's like they could abuse it all they want to.
Yeah, I turned off the monetization on the live streams at this point. I can't. What it would add up to, I was like, why did I fucking even bother with that? Like, you know, there's like no money. And I think it's kind of,
yeah.
But have you ever been to New York?
No, I've never been to New York, actually. I'm like very untraveled. Like I've been to California one time.
Yeah.
And then I've been to like a few other states, and I went to Japan when I was in middle school. I did like a foreign exchange program for like a few months.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, I've lived in Hawaii like my whole life. Like I don't really.
So you're born and raised in Hawaii?
Yeah.
And yet you're not Hawaiian?
No, I'm not Hawaiian. Yeah. Funny how that works.
It's funny how that works.
Yeah.
It's always interesting to me when I meet people that when I come across people that have never been here. I had some friends during the pandemic that I met that in St. Louis, because I spent like a year during the pandemic in St. Louis for a variety of reasons, and I was there to kill someone, and
what?
And a bunch of them, a bunch of those guys had never been to New York, and I was like, well, come by, and they come through, and they're like, I mean, I would imagine that Tokyo is probably close to the size of Manhattan or New York City, I guess. Maybe. I don't know. I have to look that up. But were you a kid when you were there?
Yeah, that was in middle school. I was there for like a few months, maybe like 3 or 4 months or something. I actually got to visit like all of like the major cities and stuff like that. Actually, the only time I've ever seen snow was there too, up in the mountains.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm actually like I can't go in like cold temperatures. Like I went to Portland once and it was
Yes.
like 40 degrees
Yeah.
and like that was so fucking cold. Like I was like not I'm not built for that. Like I guess cuz I'm always around like 70 or 80 degrees. So like you take me to 40 degrees all of a sudden I'm dying. I'm like actually dying. Like I'm shaking. Like it's bad. Like I'm not used to it at all.
Man, here's on a different note. I just got a text from a friend of mine. Bob Clearmountain lost his home and studio in the Palisades fire.
Oh.
That was a big fucking deal. Greg Wells, another producer guy, and Spike Stent, too. Those are three. I mean, Bob is like one of my heroes, like as far as a mixing engineer guy. But like, that's heartbreaking. I mean, his place was. I mean, he's been mixing in that house for 30 years.
Wow.
He had an SSL in there. He just did like a whole bunch of interviews in it. I was wondering like how he made out, but he's been in the Palisades for a long time. That's just fucked up. I mean, I don't know how long that's going to take.
It's crazy how big that fire is. Like I was actually like the pictures of it are insane.
It's crazy. I mean, and to rebuild, it's unthinkable. Like how, what is this Spork guy? Do you know Spork S? Weaver only knows how to Ozone 11 Auto Master. He's fucking with you.
Yeah, he's probably trolling.
Dolby NR.
I don't. That's why I don't. That's why I never really like ban people or anything because usually a lot of people are just messing around. You know, like
Yeah.
like sometimes someone will say something that might come off as mean. I'm just like, yeah, they're probably.
No, I'm big on banning. If I'm gonna get
Okay.
if I'm if I'm gonna have some fun with this, I'm gonna ban somebody here and there. I'm just gonna be like, yeah, you're gone. I banned
If I get
someone
some
and
power. I want a power trip.
I
That's what I'm saying.
banned
I want a
someone
power
and
trip.
I banned someone. I'm the 10,000 sub dragon now. You haven't heard? I mean, I have a fucking like fire breathing and all that. No, now if I'm gonna like if someone like that, I know that the guy's fucking around. I don't care about that kind of shit. When someone's ignorant or whatever, that's a whole different story. But tape, we kind of went over that. Tape rolls off at 16K. Let me just look at my thing. Oh yeah, that plug-in thing. And yeah, that's kind of like where I was at with everything. But like I said, I enjoy your when I can poke in. You put in a lot of work. I mean, you're on there. You're on there a lot.
Yeah, I mean, usually, I mean, I make like most of my money through YouTube and streaming and stuff like that. I mean, I do like audio engineering and music too, but I've actually put out less music because of how much I've been focusing on YouTube, sadly. But like, I mean, you know, it helps pay the bills, so like, I might as well, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
It actually has people questioning whether or not I even make music, you know. But it's like, well, I mean, what like I do the news, like, what do you want me to just start making a beat all of a sudden, and then people are like, why are you doing this, like?
Well, I mean, I think that, you know, they're two separate entities. I mean, you know, and they're really not related in a lot of ways. And I think probably for you as a music maker, you would want to just keep that separate and just be like, you know, that's what I do. I mean, I don't really consider them. What is this? Grammy gavel? Oh, okay. Yeah, I'd heard about this, that the insurance policies
That's messed up.
Yeah, that's insane. I mean, it's gonna. I just don't know. Like, yeah, it's too weird. I mean, and it's literally somewhat of a third rail. Like, you know, you don't feel comfortable. I don't feel comfortable talking about it in that, like, you know, your tendency would be want to speculate, like, well, how the fuck can this happen? You know, it doesn't happen in like. I mean, I've been to Haiti a couple of times. Like, Haiti's never burned to the ground. Like, and they have nothing. They have no infrastructure. Like, how did it happen in one of the like richest parts of the country in a lot of ways?
Right.
It's crazy. Let's just say I sent to house. I don't know what that means.
Sometimes I don't even bother reading some of the chats. I'm just like, What are you? You're derailing this. Like,
Yeah, I think generally speaking, most guys are. Let's see, is there any tape plugin you use today for distortion or warmth? Do you?
I mean, I usually just use like saturation, but like like Fab Filters, Saturn. But yeah, I have been. I use that J37 sometimes.
Oh, really?
I mean, just to mess around with a little bit, like especially if it's like something that I'm trying to make sound vintage.
Mm-hmm. What do you use for like your synth stuff?
Like just processing synths.
No, like making. What synths do you if you're making a track?
I use Vital a lot. It's like
Vital.
a free synth. It's kind of like Serum.
Okay.
Let's see, what else do I use? Pretty much Vital is my go-to, just because like, I mean, pretty much any of the soft synths are pretty capable. But what I like about that one is the workflow feels the most natural to me. Like it makes the most sense to my brain.
Right.
I mean, a long time ago, I used to use Reason synths a lot. Like I did like the sound of Reason synths.
I still use some of them. I just used one yesterday.
Yeah, I really like. I used to like Thor a lot. I haven't. I mean, I stopped using Reason probably around like Reason 6 or so.
Yeah,
I think like
Thor and Europa and
Europa's pretty cool too. Yeah.
You know what I gave a run this past year was the UAD Spark stuff. Universal Audio, they ran a deal on their Spark package, and I was like, oh, I'll give it a shot, because it was like $99 for the year, and it was a shitload of stuff, plus like a lot of native versions of their plugins, all their like distressors and stuff, which I own in the regular version, but and I because I use an Apollo and stuff. But I found that they really sound good, and they have a couple of really fucking cool synths.
Yeah, are you talking about Volt?
Is that Volt?
I think it's called Volt. Yeah, I don't know. I remember actually hearing the tone of one of them, and I was like actually impressed with how it sounded. I'm pretty sure it's called Volt.
I was checking out Arturia the other day, and I was a little unimpressed with.
No, never mind. That's not Volt. That's an interface of there. Sorry.
Okay.
Can't remember the name of it.
I was a little unimpressed with the interface. Polymax, yes, it's really good. Really, good.
No, I gotta try that, because I remember I heard it when I did like I talked about it on the news. I played like a little clip of it, and I was actually impressed with how it sounded. It sounded pretty good. Yeah,
and it's funny because I was like thinking about canceling. Yeah, Polymax I use, and oh no, that's. These companies kind of cross brand their names. Like Arturia has a plugin called Spark, which is like that makes things confusing. But they also have like they have a good Moog, they have a good organ, and a couple of Opal is there UAD Opal is their DAW.
Yeah, there's another one.
But anyway, I was kind of contemplating like, maybe for this year I'll switch over to Arturia, because I really like their keyboards.
Yeah, they have some good stuff. I mean, Pigments is really good.
Yeah, I'm not loving the user interface.
Of Pigments?
Yeah, the one thing that's really cool about the Spark stuff is like when you load up that Polymax thing, like it makes sense. Like it's a synthesizer. And you're like, oh yeah, there's the VCF, there's this, there's that. And if you know how to grab all that stuff and tweak your sound a little bit, it totally works. Whereas some of these other things get a little too fancy with the graphics, and you're like, where the fuck am I?
Yeah. I mean, workflow. I mean, or the user interface is really important.
I mean, it's everything.
Let me answer this question in chat. Somebody super chatted. How was the transition from Reason to Ableton Weaver? So for me, Flying Lotus is like a really big inspiration for me, and I actually use Reason not for that particular reason, because a lot of people I had known in real life that were producing, or a few people, they were all both using Reason, and it looked pretty cool. And I messed around with FL for a little bit before that, maybe like just a few days, but I saw them using Reason. I was like, maybe this thing is better. So I just started using Reason. And then at a certain point, like they didn't have VSTs at the time when I was using Reason.
Right.
And I wanted to use VSTs because I always heard like good things about them, right? So then I was like, okay, I'm gonna get Ableton. I heard you could rewire with it, so I basically just kind of learned some basic Ableton stuff. I'm still using Reason, but I just wanted to try out like VSTs essentially. And then from doing that, I just started kind of slowly learning Ableton and the way it works. And then eventually, I kind of just stopped using Reason. Like I don't know if it was like it was kind of like a slow transition. It wasn't like me like all of a sudden just trying to like switch, you know. So it wasn't probably not like a typical transition in that sense.
Reason to Ableton. All right. Now you do audio in Reason? Did you?
No.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I wasn't like that good at engineering at that time.
Okay. And
yeah,
then,
like I don't think my mixing and mastering was really up to par at that time. So.
and you use Ableton for with audio.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not using Pro Tools or anything. I mean,
Right.
I just work in my house. I mean, I had to use Pro Tools a little bit in audio engineering school, but I did not like it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't love it either. I mean, it is what it is. It's a tool. What was that guy? That guy was saying. My answer to him was going to be like, listen, it's a tool for pros, but the name is just a play on fucking words. I mean, it started off as Sound Tools in the beginning. It was Sound Tools, then it became Pro Tools. It's just a fucking name, but I get it. The whole game. But the Waldorf microwave, I've never messed with any of that kind of stuff. I mean, I really do miss things like the Yamaha motif and things like that, but I just don't want to deal with ever. I mean, I'll admit it. I don't want to deal with dealing with getting analog into the DAW when these software synths are so good,
Yeah, that's fair.
Part
of the reason I don't really have much hardware or pretty much any at this point is because I just don't have room. I just don't have room. Like, I don't know where I would put anything.
So this guy is using Analog Lab. That's Arturia.
Oh, yeah.
And that's one of the ones I checked out. And I was like, it's just the trial version. I'm wondering if the trial version doesn't have the same interface.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but the Analog Lab essentially has like a bunch of sounds from all of their different synths. Like supposedly it's like the best of their stuff, all just condensed into one plugin.
Right.
Let's see. I got a question here. Where was School Weaver? They asked this numerous times now. So I went to like an audio engineering program here in Hawaii. It's called the Melee program. Let me see if I can pull it up on the screen. Yeah, music and entertainment learning experience. I mean, it was pretty legit. Like somebody just like donated like, I don't know, like several $1 million or something in order to like build the program. So they have like a legit like Neve board and stuff like that. They have like a couple different studios.
Fun.
Yeah, and then I got to intern at the biggest studio in Hawaii because of that, which was pretty cool.
What was the name of that place again? You said
Melee.
No,
the studio.
Yeah.
Avex was what it was called before.
Avex.
Yeah, and then they changed the name to Island Sound.
Now,
I'm not sure what's up with it lately. Let me look it up.
Now, which island are you on?
Oahu.
Okay.
That's the main.
I don't want to dox you or anything like that. But
no, I mean I'm pretty open about living on Oahu.
Why?
Yeah, it's like I would kind of compare it to California over here. I mean, it's just like a smaller version of California. It's got like horrible traffic.
So, did you ever hear of Walter Becker's studio in Hawaii called Hyperbolic Sound?
I've heard of Hyperbolic Sound. Yeah, I don't know anything about it though. That sounds familiar.
That was the Steely Dan guy that lived there and had his studio there. It was. I remember hearing about that a long time ago. I was like, the Steely Dan was sort of like, I guess he was in Kua, Maui. That's where he was. They were kind of like elusive creatures. one guy was like a big New York guy, and he had a studio here in New York that was called River Sound. And like to what we were talking about the other day, in that, you know, that guy had said, somebody had said like some of the big studios that closed or whatever, like it's more like 80 to 90% of them are gone. I mean, it's not like a small number. And these were massive facilities. There's like one street in New York City, 54th Street, that I was like based out of for like probably about 6 or 7 years. And like you could walk down the street in the morning and see, you know, the entire, like a studio industry on the street getting ready for their sessions that day. Like, hey, what's up? Hey, you know, here's a guy delivering drums from some hot session drummer for like a Paul Simon session, and here's like engineers walking past each other fucking saying what's up, and it's like a ghost, it's like a ghost world now. Like you go down the street and you're like, the buildings are gone. Like the whole fucking thing.
That's crazy.
It's like I stayed in a hotel. I told these guys the story. I stayed in a hotel one night on 54th Street where the Hit Factory used to be. And it was like surreal. Like, you know, the entire block had been completely leveled. New buildings had gone up. And this guy's talking about, I co-produced a song with Gary Katz. I met Gary Katz back in the day on 54th Street. He was a wild dude. But, you know, it's very surreal. It's like the ghosts of the recording industry that are just gone, you know?
Yeah, it's definitely changed a lot.
Yeah, I mean, like, I played a video this earlier on the chat of Trevor Horn, the guy who produced SHILL and Yes and Frankie Goes to Hollywood and all that kind of stuff. Like, and I've been to his studio in London, and he owned like a big proper commercial recording studio facility with like multiple rooms and the whole bit. But here he was now, like clearly in some wing of his house with his Wonder Audio console and like working out of his house like I do. And Dan Huff, same thing, major studio.
Yeah. I mean,
dude.
there's just too much overhead, you know, like
the budgets aren't
like,
there, and the
Yeah.
convenience. I mean, listen,
Yeah.
There's a certain amount of things where I'm like, do I miss like going to a facility and, you know, feeling that energy? Yes. Do I enjoy like waking up in the morning, having coffee and breakfast, taking a walk around my neighborhood and coming back on and like starting to work without any effort? Yes. You know, no commute. You know, shit comes through in Dropbox, shit goes out in Dropbox. But there is a difference, and I've talked to many people about this, that like there is nothing that can replace the energy of multiple people being in the room collaborating.
Yeah, definitely.
The
Internet
pressure. There's something to the pressure of being like in front of people and being like, okay, I mean, if you're the engineer, like I need to fucking keep my head in this and like make sure I know where I'm at in the song and record this fucker and know I didn't like erase a track and keep things together and move the microphone.
Yeah, definitely.
As opposed to just like being alone, you know, with no pressure. So like, you know, if I fuck up a drop or like a mute on something, I'm like, oh, undo, do it again. And like, you know, like there's nobody saying like, what's up with this dude? You know?
Yeah.
What's up with this hack? Quit the business. Paid so well loves that. Anyway, I'll let you go, man. I mean, you've been on for 2 hours. I'm sure, you know, your idea of being on YouTube for another couple of extra hours is like probably not like high on your list, right?
No, it's all right. But yeah, I think we got through everything we needed to go through.
I had
was probably
fun.
gonna,
I mean, we'll do
eat
this
dinner with my
again,
family.
and I know that these guys fucking they dig your channel. They dig you. I mean, you're a popular dude. But
Well, I mean, I told my Discord to come through, so we probably got a few people from there too.
that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
more people here than I've ever had. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, if you guys should subscribe to Tony. Tony's is a legendary engineer. Anybody who doesn't know, you should know.
yeah, I'll tell them. I mean, I'm a fucking,
Yeah, I mean, just flex your Grammy. Just flex your Grammy.
I mean, I'll just flex that shit. I mean, look at
the
drop the G bomb here and there. You know,